In this lesson, you will learn how all chords are built and how to build them yourself. The first part of this lesson will cover the theory, and the second half will provide the practical application of this, so that you can start to actually use this in your playing. You need both parts for this to work, so be sure to watch to the very end and don't forget to give this a like below. Everything learnt in this lesson will be relative to the major scale, so it would make sense to learn this if you haven't already. Here's position 1 of the major scale across 2 octaves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we can finish on the 1. When we talk about chord formula, what we are referring to is a list of intervals that make up a chord, relative to the root note. For example, a simple major triad is built from the 1st, 3rd, and 5th degrees of the major scale, giving us the notes G, B, and D. And if we quickly analyze a simple open G chord, we can see that we are really only using the 1st, 3rd, and 5th degrees of the scale, or G, B, and D. So chord formula is literally the ingredients that make up a chord. This is where we will start. As we walk through our chord cookery book, we will start with the smallest and simplest chord type, triads. Triads are chords formed using only 3 notes. Our first triad, already discussed, is built from the 1st, 3rd, and 5th degrees of the major scale. So we could just say 1, 3, 5. Moving on to our minor triad, we can see that only 1 note has changed, this being the 3rd. Whereas in a major triad, we used a major 3rd, exactly as it falls in the major scale. In the minor triad, the 3rd has been flattened to form a minor 3rd, or 1, flat 3, and 5. Understanding that the 3rd is what decides whether a chord is major or minor is very important, so take note of this for later. The next 2 triads are the augmented triad, which is a 1, 3rd, and sharp 5th, or 1, 3, sharp 5, and a diminished triad, so 1, flat 3, and flat 5. Don't worry too much about having to memorize all this now, as you will soon discover that very little memorization is actually needed to understand and use all of this. Now let's look at the next chord type, suspended chords, or sus chords for short. All you need to know about both the sus2 and sus4 chords is that the 3rd that is usually present in most chords has been replaced with the 2nd degree of the major scale, so 1, 2, 5 in the case of sus2, and 1, 4, 5 in the case of sus4. And a quick side note, if you ever see a chord that just says sus without stating a 2 or a 4, then this is always referring to sus4. As these chords contain no major or minor 3rd, they can't be considered to be either, and so have a very open sounding quality and quite often need to be resolved. Now let's move away from triads and explore the next chord type, 6th chords. The easiest way to look at 6 chords is to see them as a simple major or minor triad with a 6 on top. For example, our major 6 chord has the scale degrees 1, 3, 5, and 6. So this is simply a major triad with the 6th degree of the major scale added. And in the minor 6, we have 1, flat 3, 5, which is a minor triad, plus the 6th degree of the major scale. You will find that all chords beyond this point are really just spelling out how they're built in the name of the chord itself. This will become clearer as we progress. And now the next and arguably most important chord type, 7th chords. Let's start with the 3 most important types of 7th chords, major 7, minor 7, and dominant 7. As you can see, the name major 7 implies a major triad, which again is our 1, 3, and 5, with the added 7th degree of the major scale. So 1, 3, 5, plus a 7. Hopefully you're starting to see how this works now. It's worth noting at this stage that just as our major 3rd can be made into a minor 3rd, which goes towards deciding the major or minor tonality of a chord, we also have the option of a major 7th interval or a minor 7th interval, which you need to also be aware of when building the following chord, the minor 7th chord. So in a major 7th chord, we would see both a major 3rd and a major 7th present. While if we look at our minor 7th chord, we can see first of all a minor triad, so 1, flat 3, and 5, but this time with a minor 7 or flat 7 added, so 1, flat 3, 5, and flat 7. Next up is the dominant 7th chord, commonly written down as simply 7. For example, C7. This chord type is made from first of all a major triad, so 1, 3, 5, but this time we have a minor 7 or flat 7 added. The clash between the major 3rd and minor 7th, which you could argue is the essence of blues music, causes a lot of dissonance and so makes it a great vehicle to resolve back to the 1 chord. So for example, instead of playing a D to G chord or the 5 chord to the 1 chord in the key of G, we could make the 5 chord D7 or D dominant 7, introducing more dissonance and therefore creating a stronger resolution to the 1 chord. Major 7, minor 7 and dominant 7 chords are very important, as the remaining 3 chord types, 9ths, 11ths and 13ths, are all built upon these chords. But while we're here, let's also have a look at a diminished 7th chord. The formula for this chord is 1, flat 3, flat 5, so just a diminished triad, but a fully diminished 7th chord has a double flat 7 also. This is the same as a 6th interval, but in the context of a diminished 7th chord, it has to be considered a 7th that has been flattened by 2 semitones. We also have what's known as a half diminished chord. The chord formula for this would be the same as a fully diminished 7th chord, so 1, flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7, but instead of a double flat 7, we would simply have a flat 7, so 1, flat 3, flat 5 and flat 7. Another common way you will see this named is a minor 7 flat 5, as essentially it is the same as our previously learnt minor 7th chord, so 1, flat 3, 5 and flat 7, but the 5th has been flattened. Before we move on to the last 3 chord types, 9ths, 11ths and 13ths, let's look at a few chord examples to show you how you can figure out the chord formula of any chord just by looking at the name of the chord itself. Many chords you see, especially in a jazz context, will be either a major 7, minor 7 or dominant 7th chord, and quite often with a sharpened or flattened 5th. So first up is a major 7 sharp 5. As the name suggests, this is a major 7 chord, so 1, 3, 5 being our major triad plus the 7, but with a sharpened 5th. So 1, 3, sharp 5 and a 7. This logic works the same with our minor 7 and dominant 7 chords also. Let's try a trickier one. How about minor major 7? So for example, G minor major 7. At first glance, this chord could be quite confusing, but the clue is definitely in the name of the chord here. So the minor part of the chord is referring to the minor triad, so 1, flat 3 and 5, and then we simply place a major 7 on top. This is often referred to as the James Bond or spy chord. Let's look at one more example, 7 sus. So for example, G7 sus. If we start with the 7, then this is simply just a dominant 7th chord. So 1, 3, 5 and a flat 7. Now let's address the sus part of the chord. As discussed previously, a sus is either a 2 or a 4, which replaces the third of a chord. And as this doesn't state either the 2 or the 4, we can assume that it's referring to just the 4. So let's replace the third in our 7th chord with a 4th, giving us 1, 4, 5 and flat 7. If you've understood everything so far, then you should be able to work out the formula for most chords. To put this to the test, find any jazz chord chart and try to figure out the formula for every chord you can. Whether you like jazz or not, the chords that are used within this style will be a great test of how well you understand chords in general. If you want a great book full of jazz standards to practice this with, I would recommend The Real Book. I'll leave a link for this down in the description. But let's move on to the last 3 chord types, commonly known as extensions. As the last 3 chord types are 9ths, 11ths and 13ths, otherwise known as extensions, we first need to understand how to find these within the major scale. When we previously played our major scale, we gave each note a number from 1 to 7. As the major scale only contains 7 notes, then this makes sense. So where does the 9th, 11th and 13th come from? If you were to continue counting through the notes of the major scale beyond 7, you would end up with something looking like this. Now let's focus on the 9th, 11th and 13th notes. As you can see, the 9th is the same as the 2nd, the 11th is the same as the 4th, and the 13th is the same as the 6th. A quick way to think of this would be 2, 4, 6. Now let's have a look at the formula of each of these to see how they work within chords. These are all going to be really straightforward, as all you need to do is place each extension on top of the previously learnt 7th chords. Let's start with 9th chords. As you can see, a major 9 is simply a major 7 chord, so 1, 3, 5 and a 7, but with a 9th or 2nd placed on top. A minor 9th chord is, again, a minor 7th chord with a 9th on top. And the 9th chord is just a dominant 7th chord with a 9th on top. Be careful not to get confused between major chords and dominant chords. For example, you could see a major 9 chord written down as G major 9, but a G dominant 9 or just G9 would simply be written down as G9. So as you can tell, 9th chords are pretty straightforward, provided you know your 3 main 7th chord types: major 7, minor 7 and dominant 7. Now let's move on to 11th chords. As you can see, at the heart of each chord displayed again is a simple major 7, minor 7 or dominant 7th chord with a 9th and this time an 11th or 4th on top. This is nice and easy, as all we need to do is place an 11th on top of our 9th chords. An important point to note in regards to any chord containing both a major third and an 11th. Major thirds and 11ths or fourths being so close to each other in the major scale don't tend to sound very nice when played together, and for this reason it's very common to sharpen the 11th or 4th in chords that contain both. This creates much more distance between the two intervals and is much more pleasing to the ear. In this particular scenario, you would name this chord a major 7 sharp 11 chord. And in many guitar chord grips that you see that contain an 11th that hasn't been sharpened, typically the third is usually removed. There's not much more to understand about 11th chords at this stage. All we're doing is adding an 11th to everything that came before. And now for the biggest chord type, 13th chords. Once again, we're going to place a 13th on top of the previously learnt 11th chord type. So we have either a major, minor, or dominant 7th chord, plus a 9th, 11th, and 13th. There's really nothing to memorize when talking about extensions. As long as you know your major 7, minor 7, and dominant 7 chords, you simply place the required extensions on top. Now you may have noticed that these chords are rather large and contain a lot of notes, especially the 13th chord type, which has 7 notes in total, and as guitarists we generally only tend to have 6 strings, and therefore a maximum of 6 notes playable at one time. So what do we do in this scenario? We have to know which notes are most relevant in retaining the name and quality of the chord, and therefore which notes are less relevant, and simply remove them. The first note we could omit from the chord could be the 5th, as it's the least essential note and does not contribute to the sense of major or minor, or add any interest in terms of tension to the sound. Therefore, it can be safely omitted without affecting the stability or tonality of the chord. Another note that could be omitted is the root note, provided a band member such as a bassist or keyboard player is covering this already. But generally it's good practice to include this, as it provides context to the chord. In an 11th chord, we could also remove the 9th, as the key characteristic at this stage would be the 11th note. And in a 13th chord, we could remove the 9th and 11th, as once again, the 13th would be the main focus of this chord. So for example, you could potentially shrink a full 7-note 13th chord, so 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13, down to its bare bones, leaving us with the root, the 3rd, the 7th, and the 13th, which would make for a much easier chord to play. One chord type that's worth exploring at this stage would be add 9 chords. As the name implies, all you're doing here is adding a 9th to a chord. In most cases, a simple major triad, so 1, 3, 5, and 9, or a minor triad, 1, flat 3, 5, and 9. So nice and easy. Before we get to the main point, where I'll show you how to apply this all to the guitar fretboard, let's quickly talk about the different kinds of shorthand that musicians use to indicate chords when written down. Let's start with major chords. A C major triad could be written down as just simply C, or with an uppercase M for major, or even C, M, A, or C, M, A, J, or even C with a triangle symbol to indicate major. You will often see these used in bigger chords, for instance C major 7 or C major 13. Minor chords have a note followed by a lowercase m or min, or even a minus symbol, for example A minor 7, C minor, or G minor 7, all indicating a minor chord type. An augmented chord is often written down with a plus sign indicating the sharp 5 in an augmented triad, for example C plus, or sometimes with the note followed by aug, for example C aug. Diminished chords are noted by a dim or a circle. Fully diminished 7th chords, so 1, flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7, are written using this symbol, often followed by a 7. Half diminished chords, so 1, flat 3, flat 5, and flat 7, are written with the same symbol, but with a line or strike through the middle. So now let's put this into practice and apply everything learnt so far to the fretboard. As many of the chords you encounter will contain a root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th, I will show you where these fall in the major scale as a sort of template, so that you don't have to start from scratch every time you want to build a chord. Let's start with a G major 7 chord, so 1, 3, 5, 7. Now there are many ways of playing each of these intervals within the major scale, so I'm going to only include the most useful ones and omit the rest, leaving us with a very common way of playing a major 7 chord. Now let's try this one, a G minor major 7. So the naming of this chord will tell you that this is a G minor triad, so 1, flat 3, 5, plus a major 7. To play this, all we need to do is flatten the major 3rd in our major 7 chord. Let's try a bigger chord, like a G major 13. So the intervals in this chord would be the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. Let's ditch the 5, 9, and 11, leaving us with 1, 3, 7, and 13. The 1, 3, and 7 are already present in our G major 7 chord, so all we need to do is raise the 5th up by 2 frets or semitones to our 13th, because remember 13s are the same as 6. If you wanted this chord to be a dominant G13 or simply G13, you would simply lower the 7th by 1 fret or semitone to reveal the flat 7 or minor 7th interval. At this stage we could also build a minor 13 chord by now lowering the major 3rd to a flat 3rd or minor 3rd interval. Hopefully you're seeing at this stage that provided you understand how to interpret chord names, understand chord formula, and can see where the intervals are located on the guitar, then the possibilities for building chords are limitless. Let's look at a few more examples. How about a simple G6 chord? So this would be a major triad, 1, 3, 5, plus a 6. As we already have the 1, 3, and 5 covered, we simply need to identify the 6th, which is located 2 frets or semitones lower than the 7th. We could also now make this a minor 6 chord, so a minor triad, 1, flat 3, 5, plus a 6, by simply lowering the major 3rd to a minor 3rd. Now let's try something different. How about a G6-9 chord? As the name implies, this would be a G6 chord, so 1, 3, 5, and 6, plus a 9. We could first of all lower our 7th to a 6, and then our 3rd down 2 frets or semitones to our 9th. And we can now place our 3rd on the A string, giving us 1, 3, 6, 9, and 5. Let's keep looking at a few more examples to further establish this concept into your playing. Let's start with our G major 7 chord again. So 1, 3, 5, and 7. And now let's lower the 7th by 1 fret or semitone, giving us a G dominant 7th, so 1, 3, 5, and flat 7, or simply G7. Now let's lower the 3rd by 1 fret also, now giving us a G minor 7 chord. At this stage we could play a minor 7 flat 5 chord, so 1 flat 3, flat 5, and flat 7, by lowering the 5th by 1 semitone. This is a very common chord and is also referred to as our previously mentioned half diminished chord. Now let's talk about altered chords. Generally speaking, an altered chord is a chord with either a flat 5th, sharp 5th, flat 9th, or sharp 9th, or any combination of these. The most common use of altered chords is usually on dominant chords, so 1, 3, 5, flat 7 chord types. We would call these altered dominant chords. Let's use a G7 sharp 5 as an example. Start with the root, followed by the flat 7 and the 3rd, and now we can sharpen the 5th. How about a G7 flat 9 sharp 5? All we need to do is identify the 2nd or 9th on the high E string 5th fret and lower it to the flat 9. I would recommend going and watching this video back as many times as you need to for these concepts to all sink in. While I can't show examples for every conceivable chord, hopefully this lesson gave you the tools and knowledge to build any chord you encounter and finally ditch the 1001 chord book forever. As usual, feel free to leave comments below with any questions or simply just say hi, and give this video a like if you enjoyed the content, and of course hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. See you in the next one.